The meeting will now come to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Good morning. Donna Mosier.
Here.
Ed Weiner.
Here.
Susan Muniak. Here. Lemaine Eifert.
Here.
Brenda Owens. Barry Burgess.
Here.
Jennifer Smiley.
Here.
Beverly Hasty.
Here. John, do we have a proof of notice?
Yes, Beverly, notice has been posted and given.
Thank you. Before we get started, I want to say that this is a question and answer period. I would like, we as a board would like you have one time to get up and speak about this, and only for 3 minutes. I don't want any noise from the audience. This is a very important thing that we are doing here. So there will be no calling out or yelling from the audience. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. The business meeting is the cell tower proposal. Do we have any questions from the board? We have Steve over here, who's from the cell tower place people, Reliant. Steve, how long have you been doing this?
28 years.
Okay, for Reliant?
For Reliant, 3.5 years.
Okay.
Madam President, we can.
He's getting a mic right now.
I've been in the business 28 years, 3.5 years with Reliant Towers. I used to run the whole East Market for AT&T Wireless in the Northeast, and then I came down 10 years ago to Verizon Wireless and ran Verizon Wireless out of Tampa and retired 4 years ago.
Okay. I'm going to start off with a few questions that I have. Let's see. Will the tower interfere with, there's a lot of people in here that have actual antennas for their TV as opposed to cable. Will the tower interfere with that communication?
Absolutely not. Each carrier, like you have Dish Network or DirecTV, they're licensed a specific spectrum that they have to operate in. So the FCC issues license for spectrum of light for the communication facilities to communicate. And no one's allowed to communicate within anybody else's spectrum. So Verizon Wireless will operate at 1900 to 22 megahertz, all different frequencies that they operate.
But we have antennas that don't go with any cable company or telephone company.
Yeah, they're probably Omni antennas that operate under 800. There's no interference. In fact, the county requires us when we do these to have an intermodal study, which shows that there's no interference with any other communications.
Okay, will we hear high frequency hum from it?
No.
Okay, and the 5G exposes us to radiation. About that.
The FCC, they knew this was coming with 5G. They did a study. I posted, there's a piece of paper in the back that has all of the FAA, FCC, American Cancer Society, the different links you can go to that kind of debunks the hazardous radiation stuff. So these antennas operate at less than 14 watts, 100 watts. The microwave in your house operates at 1200 watts. There's no microwave at this site, it's just antenna, so there's no microwave frequency. Radio stations and TV stations operate at 500,000 megahertz. We operate at 14 watts. So there's no humming. I've been around these antennas for 28 years. The FCC kind of debunked everything. In fact, in the zoning, back in February, if you come to a zoning hearing and you have something to say about the health concerns, they're not allowed to hear it any longer.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Go ahead, Ed.
So I've seen a lot of these towers that have like a fence around the base and they've got equipment and all that stuff in there, like some of them even have like a building. Is that gonna be part of this?
Yeah, so what we're proposing at this facility is not a chain link fence. We're gonna do a white opaque fence that camouflages all the equipment. The shelters are to keep the equipment cool. They're air conditioned. They now have outdoor equipment. What's in that is just the electronics that basically power equipment that goes up to the antennas.
What about power to it? Is there, I mean, you have to run power lines to that?
So we run power and fiber to the facility, and we stick an H-frame up. So any carrier that comes to the facility has their own meter, their own bank of fiber.
So where would that run from?
Probably the closest right away. So there's probably fiber at this building, so there's probably fiber that runs down through the roads here, so it's buried underground. Most likely we'd start a little road and come in or just catch on to, if there's fiber running along the street right here, we could just take a handhold and tap into the fiber and pull it in.
Well, would you, so if each cell company that you get to use the tower, would they have to run power? I mean, are they gonna be digging it up all the time, every time you get a new?
No, it'll be one dig. So we bring so Pasco County requires us to build a tower that requires 4 co-locators. Our towers are whole 8, so we provide service for 8.
The other thing is, this company hasn't been in business that long, 3 years. How many towers have they built so far?
We have 4 going up next year. I kind of started this business after I retired because it's what I did for 28 years. I partnered with a commercial broker and a real estate attorney, Brian Sykes, and myself. So there's 3 partners in the company, and it takes about 2 years to get the tower in the air. And we just started 3 years ago, and we got funding 2 years ago, and we're on our way.
So you haven't actually built a tower yet?
No, we have 3 of them, 4 of them going up next year. Possibly 1 will go up in December.
What is the figures for our compensation? Seems kind of low. What is your compensation for each carrier that you get?
So we get about $1,800 for 10 foot of space on the tower. You guys are getting $1,250. And then as each additional, we really don't make any money until a second carrier comes on. So it's worth it for me to get as many carriers as possible. And then once the second carrier comes on, the table kind of flips where we're going to get the $1,250. You guys are going to get
Any other board questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Lene.
How many carriers do you expect or do you hope for on this tower?
I have interest from 2 so far. I'm waiting to hear back from AT&T. When AT&T comes along, they have to provide 2 networks because they're responsible for putting the first responder network up nationally. So they'll put their AT&T antennas, and then they have to put a responder network also. So when AT&T comes along, it's 2 attachments.
So a possibility of 4?
Yes. Well, I'm talking to Dish right now. They just came in. The Dish Network has their own phone company now. Facebook is starting their own company. Google's starting their own cell phone company. So there's a lot of people that are coming. Spectrum is now, they've been piggybacking on Verizon. Now they're going to put their own network in. So there's about 17 cell phone carriers that could go on. I go after the big ones first because they're the ones that pay the most rent, and then I work my way down. Dish Network can't commit to anything because they don't have a development committee or team set up yet here.
Thank you.
Donna?
Okay, one of the questions I had to ask you is, say 10 years into this contract, if y'all decide to just pull out, who's gonna be responsible for removing the tower?
We do, it's in the contract. So we were moving down to 2 feet below grade because we're gonna pour a 50 or 60 foot footer. So we'll take it down below that and put the footer in the ground.
Okay, and what's to stop the county, if we decide not to go with you guys, what's to
Microphone, Donna.
Okay, say that, we don't go with you, for example, then what's to stop the county from coming in and putting up a tower anywhere they want to anyway?
It's coming. So if the Timber Oaks doesn't want it, we're gonna go somewhere else around here.
Because in here too.
Yeah, so Pasco, I know Pasco County facility owns a lot of this stuff, but I came to Timber Oaks first. I like to serve the community, not the government, so.
And one more last thing, like Ed said, if you have others come in here, you're putting in your equipment around the tower. Are any of these other companies gonna have to put their equipment around the tower too?
So each carrier that comes in on the ground space, they get a 10 by 15 foot area. I still take 10 by 15, and that's for their radio equipment that's on the ground. Everything else, most of this equipment's in the air now. They run fiber right up to the antennas, or they used to run fiber to a port, and then used to be coax cable. That's all gone away. It's less visible. Stuff's a lot less visible.
Ed, do you have another question?
I wanted to ask you about 5G. I've read different things. One thing said that you can raise the tower higher than originally proposed. And the other thing said that 5G needs to be closer to the ground. So that they were using light poles and other things to put 5G on. So I'm confused by that.
So 5G is just a service. Like LTE allows you to text, AWS allows you to stream, 5G allows you to keep continual signals, kind of developed for public safety. So the cars all have GPS, antennas, a light pole system. So 5G doesn't work without this tower. So you have to look at 5G like an octopus. So you need a big tower, that's the head of the octopus. And then if there's gaps in the community where nobody's getting signal or whatever, they stick a light pole up, and that signal sends to that one so it can operate.
So would you be putting it on light poles then too?
No, I think this pole could cover the whole community.
Okay, so they're already there.
Okay, any more board questions?
I have one.
Okay, Sue.
If, after the initial term of the contract, we want the tower gone,
Yeah, there's termination language in the lease where you have to give us 90-day notice, written notice. And then once that happens, we have 180 days to take it down.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, having no more board questions, I'm going to open it up to the residents. If you want to speak, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Sir in the red shirt, come up to the microphone.
It's just not very loud.
You gotta speak right into it.
Yeah, well, I am right into it.
Okay.
There we go. So my question,
Excuse me, sir,
Yes.
would you please identify yourself?
sorry, I'm around fallen leaf. So we've been here about 7 years. So what's the maximum number of cells that this tower is going to have?
What do you mean by cells?
Well,
Cell to carriers?
you lease power space to carriers who put up the cells. And I'm assuming that each carrier does not only have one cell, correct?
Well, my definition of cell, I think you mean antennas. My definition of cell is a carrier in my industry. So every carrier has a different network. So T-Mobile and Sprint will stay, if they have a network out there, they'll probably have 2 antennas. Verizon will probably have 4 antennas.
Okay, so using your language, what's the maximum number of antennas that will go on this tower? You're in the business to make money by selling space to carriers, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you're gonna sell as much space as you possibly can, I get that. Just wanna know what the antennas will go on that tower. What's its
I
capacity?
can give you a guess, but the capacity is, we are required to put 4 carriers, so 50 antennas at the most. And that's if everybody puts up full capacity, which I doubt they will.
But it's a possibility.
That's a possibility.
So there's a little bit of confusion for me anyway, when Ed was asking questions about power. And then the conversation switched over to fiber, which is not power.
Right.
So can you explain a little bit of the difference? First off, we know what fiber is, doesn't really take a lot, but the power does. So how much power is this tower going to require?
I understand power and fiber are 2 different things. The reason I included the fiber is because we pull both at the same time, different conduits. So each carrier is going to require 200 amp service.
And the maximum number of carriers?
I've got 2 interested now. The tower will hold up to 4.
Who pays for that power?
We do.
So there's no stipulation in the contract that says once you reach a certain number of carriers that the power is then paid for by the lease, which comes off of what Timber Oaks would receive. Okay.
We pay for everything. So the power is, the Verizon's going to lease a space for a certain amount of money, and they pay, the power comes out of the lease, out of their money.
Okay.
Timber Oaks won't be responsible for any costs for this site.
All right, just a couple more questions. Cell towers get hit by lightning, catch fire, things like that. So what if something happens to that tower, gets hit by lightning, something comes off the tower, goes through the maintenance building, for example, or takes out some equipment in the maintenance building from the surge? So where's the liability for that?
We have a $6 million umbrella policy with a $2 million per incident. We're insured.
And what about everybody's property values that's within sight of this tower?
Well, the studies I have, it doesn't decrease the property value. Most of the people.
Of course not.
And I'm sure yours does, but just telling you what my research has given me, I don't think it's going to decrease the property value.
Are you?
That's an appraisal. So the property value is from an appraisal. Appraisal is based on your square footage, not if there's a cell tower in the area. I've never seen a cell tower mentioned in an appraisal of property value ever.
And you're a real estate professional?
I used to be a broker in '92. Yes, I've been in real estate some time.
Well, I do know this. If you walk out somebody's back door and you're looking at a cell tower versus walking out back door of that same house and looking at woodlands or something, there's going to be a difference in that property value.
Not on the appraisal.
Not on the appraisal, but on the market.
I'm just telling you what your property value is based on as an appraisal. But I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, I don't know everyone's name.
Good morning. My name is Ann Palmer, and I don't know much about the 5G technology. But what I haven't heard this morning is why we're even considering this. Why is this being proposed in our 55-plus community? A community of people that I've been here 4 years, and I haven't really met anyone that cares about their internet speed. And so I just would like to know why we're considering this. And one of the reasons my late husband and I settled here 4 years ago was because it's a beautiful community. You know, we don't have any eyesores. You know, I live in a bird sanctuary. I can't even hang a birdhouse, a tower. So I just would like to know from the board's perspective why we're even considering this. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Almanza, do you have something you want to say?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now?
Yep.
Better? Okay, good morning. Chris Almanza, 8435 Elgin Drive. Steve, thank you for being here this morning, and board members, thanks for giving us the opportunity to have input. Before I get started, I'd like to mention that we seem to be putting the cart in front of the horse here. I really believe that what we need to do first is decide if we want a cell tower, and if the answer to that question is yes, decide who we want to manage and operate that tower. That being said, I think we should take a minute to be sure we're all on the same page when we talk about cell towers. And Steve's given an excellent description this morning of what's involved, what's there at the tower site. But I think these pictures would be useful to understand that everyone needs to be aware that when we're talking about a cell tower, we're actually referring to the cell tower site itself. And that includes the cell tower, equipment sheds that Steve's already mentioned, a hut or huts to house the equipment. We need electrical service to those huts. We need underground fiber feed to those huts. All of that involves construction. And we need emergency power generators and tanks for those generators. And all of this is enclosed in a fence. I was thinking chain link fence, but Steve had the good news that it's not chain link. So this is really kind of hard to visualize. So I printed out some photos of two nearby towers. One is on Ridge Road, and it's the time. One of the tower, but the ground equipment around around this tower is very typical for a cell site. It's got abandoned equipment, it's got new equipment, kind of a worn out cell tower site. And hopefully this tower isn't like that, but it is typical of what happens at a cell site. The other photos are of a cell tower on Little Road, and that is really typical of what Steve is proposing. It's a monopole cell tower. It's a clean site. It's got only one generator, one emergency storage tank. It's got one equipment cabinet, it's well maintained, and there's room for expansion. So I really suggest if anybody's interested in Orange Grove, since you actually visit this tower, it's on Little Road at St. George's Church. And please get out of your car, stand in front of it, you get a better idea of the enormity of a cell tower. So that's what I had on the details. And on the financial aspect of it, let's say the going rate is $10,000 to $12,000 a year in Tampa for the ground lease. And am I close? Okay. Take that $10,000 to $12,000 a year, and then say Steve's extremely generous and throws in another $8,000 a year for our percentage of the tower lease, calling that grand total of $20,000. Okay, $20,000 for an unused piece of land that we have no use for is a respectable amount of money. However, if you take that $20,000, divide it by 2,000 homes, that works out to $10 a year reduction in our tax dues. So that's my perspective on the financial side of it.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah.
You exceeded your 3 minutes.
Oh,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
Sorry.
Beverly, thanks to the board for all you do to devote all of the time and effort to taking care of Timber Oaks.
You're welcome. John?
Beverly, I'm not sure how much information the homeowners here have, but the contract, why are we considering a tower? Because Steve proposed it to us. It comes with a monthly check. It's a basic area that Steve gets on his tower. Our amount goes up, our monthly amount goes up. So it's going beside of an existing enclosure that the county has for a lift station. It's very similar to what's there now. There's no tower there now, but there are utilities coming into that fence enclosure. There's a backup generator there. So it's very similar to what's already there. If you can just imagine that area being enlarged with a tower in it, and also we've marked the location. So if anyone's curious or isn't exactly sure where it is, we do have it marked.
Good morning, and thank you all for the opportunity to allow us to come and speak on this. My name is Anita Barnes. I live at Dollar Lake. I have a lot of concerns. I did a little bit of quick research. I was looking at the Americans for Responsible Technology, which is a grassroots organization. They've taken legal action in many areas throughout Florida. I know a few years ago, I watched a C-SPAN congressional hearing with Senator Blumenthal and all of the big tech companies on this subject. One of the things that stood out really loud and clear is not one of these companies invested a penny in research, but there's an abundance. We have the Environmental Health Trust. There's an abundance of research that clarifies there's all sorts of problems. We have environmental concerns. This is a property that has bird sanctuary. That would be impacted negatively. I have concerns about our individual insurance, the increase on our insurance. Health hazards. There's a big laundry list, especially for elders who have medical device implants that are electronic. Those are definitely impacted. And today we're talking 5G, but the reality is they're already up to 8G. So this is all, the 5G is virtually outdated. They've already been using 6 and they're up on
They're in developing aging. I think we have many, many things to thank you.
Sir, go ahead, right there. I'm sorry, it's Chuck, right? Wayne, sorry.
Wayne Spangler, I live on Winding Wood. I haven't been to a lot of these meetings recently, but the last that I knew of, Timber Oaks was a nonprofit organization. Is that still correct?
Yes, we are not for.
Not for profit, not nonprofit, we're not for profit.
Well, if you are not for profit, how do you go about leasing the land that actually the board does not own that land? We own that land. And I don't understand how you can be leasing our land. And how can you possibly erect a tower in residential? Are we going industrial? And contrary to your last statement on health issues, I can vary you any reports of health issues created by the microwaves that are emitted from these towers. They are deadly to elderly people. And the last I knew, we are a senior community unless you change that to, I adamantly oppose your tower, oppose you even attempting to lease land. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. John?
Just so, a couple of questions there, right? So first of all, the board has done their due diligence. They have consulted with an HOA attorney that gave them advice and direction. And if the board wants to go into that information, I guess you can, but they're following their legal advice, and this is just the next step in the progression. As far as being not for profit, it's about having funds left over at the end of the year. You can do many things to balance your budget. Leasing land. And as far as the health risks, Steve touched on this earlier, and I also had a representative from Jack Mariano's office call me this morning. And I don't know the details firsthand, but I do know that it is federal, I don't think statute's the word, but federal code, that these health risks, because they've been debunked, are not allowed in a government setting when a cell tower is being discussed. It cannot be used as a means to deny the cell tower installation.
Thank you, Tom. Eileen?
Eileen Dunn, Mira Vista Drive. I'm looking at the photograph that we handed out, and there's no trees over there where you're intending to put this. It's pretty much dirt and grass over there. So I think this is a little deceptive. I don't know where we got this photograph from. It's not like that. So I don't know what kind of a view that the homeowners aren't going to have a view that looks like this. So I think that might be a concern. I don't know if there's a way to camouflage this. I know when they put these things up, when they first started, they would disguise them, make them look nice, fit in with the community. And number two, if AT&T comes along, lease the other cell companies, so then they get the money? They can't do that. Okay, that's good. So they would have to give us something. Okay, but what about this?
The board asked me to send a picture of what type of tower we were proposing, and that's the last one that I built in the Tampa area, so I sent that one. But that's the type of structure it's gonna be. It would cost me $4,000 to go out there and take pictures and get a photo simulation of what it would look like.
Okay, so
So
this isn't,
without a lease, I'm not gonna spend
this kind of
$4,000.
isn't realistic.
It's tough.
I just think, is there the possibility of disguising that?
Yeah, there are options. That's what we're proposing. The county will decide if we need to camouflage it. We can do a monopalm or a monopine or whatever, but the crosses and the unipoles, like the one across the street over there, they're obsolete now. There's too many technologies. They can't handle the capacity services for everybody has a cell phone now, so they can't get the technology they need in those little poles.
Because the whole length of this is in people's backyard. I think they may have an objection to that. And my other question would be that when you put something like this in, you take it out if you decide to, maybe there's a 10G or something else comes along.
Yeah, it'll hold, the technology is in an antenna. It's not basically in the tower. So it's basically 5G just is in a certain light spectrum that provides a public safety service. Each technology operates. PCS allows you to make your phone calls. LTE 4G allows you to text. AWS allows you to stream movies. So each service needs their own antenna to operate.
And where in the county would you be putting this over on the county property over there if we decline this?
I'll find somewhere within a half-mile radius.
Because I don't believe they have any property over there that you'd be able to do this on.
This is the first people that I'll find somewhere to put it.
I mean, because the mounds over there are, the Department of Energy had those specifically laid out as to how they had to be managed.
I can't speak for the Department of Energy, but I can tell you that cell tower on Little Road needs to come down because the carriers are coming off of it because they can't provide their customers what they need.
Will you have to have permission from the DEP?
Yeah, we have to go through all environmental. It takes us 9 months. We have to get federal, environmental, Florida Wildlife Commission. There's a lot of permits. Then
You're gonna have to go through all that.
We have to get all that before we can even submit for zoning.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we do EPA studies, we do all the environmental stuff that's required by law.
You're gonna have to do all that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Eileen. Linda?
Good morning. Any other place in the community the tower can go? Seems like the people that live on Gold Pine, they're bombarded. They have the shed, they have the pump station, they have all kinds of stuff over there. And now they're gonna add the cell tower. Is there any place else that the cell tower can go?
Go ahead, Steve, answer that, please.
I propose 2 locations in the community. One is there and one is in the storage facility out on Cornerville Road.
The RV lot.
The RV lot.
Or,
That's even closer to where I live, but what the heck? Thank you.
those are the only 2 properties that meet all the zoning requirements for Pasco County.
Sir, in the front row, you had your hand raised.
My name is Dale Boyle. We live on Gold Pine. And Debbie and I, my wife, will be affected by this tower.
Speak in the microphone, please.
Will be affected by this tower probably more than anybody else in this room. Because I can look out my back window or sit on my screened-in porch, and there it is, about 60 or 70 feet away. I don't know exactly where the tower will be, but I believe 2 things that I want to drive home today. I don't believe that there is in the health realm with these towers. You put out a bunch of websites that we can go to.
Can't hear you, sir. You get to the mic, please.
All right. I believe that the information from those websites are far overridden by the real information that you guys, and me especially, will be under a health problem, especially with us old people. And why in the world do we have to have it in a residential neighborhood when there is so many other places that you can go? The other thing is, I am absolutely positive that if I was to sell my house and there's that tower in the back, it would devastate the property value of that house because people know, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and we better stop it now or it'll be an eyesore and a problem forever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I address one I just want to be clear on this tower, there's going to be no microwave dishes. Because I keep hearing concerns about microwave. There's going to be, that's television and radio, maybe microwave and fiber. There's not going to be a microwave dish on this tower. It's just going to be.
No, sorry, I was pointing to Robert. You can be next.
Speaking to the mic, I got it. Hello, my name is Robert Ernest. Winding Wood Road over there. Well, everybody that hears once I open my mouth.
Closer.
8434 Winding Wood Drive. That's where I'm hanging out. Quick question for you. The maintenance on this place. Who's going to be responsible? It goes down. How much time are you going to have that emergency generator running? What type of maintenance people are you going to have on the site when it happens?
We're responsible for all the maintenance. We're responsible for all of the maintenance. We have 24/7. We have a knock business, which as soon as an alarm goes off, they're there within 2 hours.
Okay, and the noise level, the people that are around there with the generator running.
Well, we plan on putting a natural gas backup system, not a diesel. So all the other
thing we got to worry about is a pipe breaking and a fire starting and the place blowing up. Other than that, we're good.
I don't know.
I'm just being hypothetical.
Any place that has a gas oven, and that's probably every restaurant. But yeah, it's the tank also has a cutoff valve, so if natural gas is probably safer than diesel fuel. So that's why we go with natural gas.
All right, that was my concern. I do hope that we move on with this because you can't always just pick up the microwave and worry about it. That's going to get poisoned. A lot of people haven't been poisoned yet, but I imagine people are still worried about that. That's all I got to say on the matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Karen.
Karen Fritsch, 8310 Divot Way. I'm not probably personally affected by this, but I started thinking when somebody mentioned about the costs and what we would get. And, I'm on the finance committee. I've also been on the budget committees. And, financially, we're doing fine. We're doing well. And so then I started thinking about it's always nice to get extra money. And who doesn't want that? But when I think about the cost to to the neighbors around that cell tower, I don't think it's worth it. I think we're doing fine as we are. If, you know, we raise the monthly fees when we need to, but they're never very much. And I think I'd rather pay $2 or $3 more a month to make sure we're covering everything rather than having a cell tower to get that income. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Are there any other questions? Dale?
Dale Thompson, Hachita Drive. Okay, I actually have more than one question. I agree when people thank the board for letting us come here, but I have more than one question. So if I come and I only get the answer to one, we definitely need more time to think about this. This is a big issue and it's something that I think does need to take a little bit of time. Now, you had said, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. You said we're more or less your guinea pigs right now because you've got 4 others going up, but they're not up yet. Why was the reason that they're not up yet? Why are they not going up thing, or is this something you're hoping that they go through?
Oh, I never said you were my guinea pig.
No, I'm saying that basically.
Okay, well, we've got 4 towers coming up. It takes about 1.5 years to go through all of the governmental, environmental process. This tower, if we were to agree on the lease agreement, probably won't be up for 18 months. It takes that long to go through. We are governed by the federal government, federal commission. We don't just go to the county and get a building permit. We have to comply with all the federal mandates, all the local mandates, all the environmental mandates, all the tribal mandates. So the reason they're not up is because it's taken me 18 months to get what I need.
But you've got the contract to go ahead with them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Once I get a contract to go ahead, it takes about 18 months to actually get a building permit.
Okay. What would you say? I mean, there's downsides to everything. You can tell us all the things that we're concerned about and answer the questions. What can it's going to be on our property, so what is the downside to having one of these as far as the fine print goes to what can go wrong? As far as the health issues, nothing's any good for us anymore. Just using a cell phone, people can get cancer from using a cell phone. That's not the issue. I have other issues with it. When this was presented to us, I understood that and this will answer a lot of people's questions, I understood that if we did not put it on our property here in Timber Oaks and take the money from you, then it would probably go on the old golf course, which belongs to the county. And that would be in our backyard anyway, except the only problem would be we wouldn't get the benefit of the money, the county would. Well, I did speak to the county, and of course, at that point in time, the people I spoke to knew nothing about this. And because they did purchase the golf course from us, they do believe that if we turn this down, they probably would not go ahead and put it on their property because it would be going against all the residents here in Timber Oaks. They were not aware of this. They did make me aware of the fact that before you could even get the go-ahead, you would have to come to them with the approval from us before you could get, everything that you need to get, as far as I can't think of the words right now. But one of my other things was when you said that if for some reason you cut the contract short, are there other ones that, see, I'm confused because you can't tell me if one has already been discontinued somewhere that you've taken down because you said you haven't really put any up yet.
I've built over 18,000 sites in the last 28 years and I've never taken one down.
Okay.
I've been in this business 28 years. I'm working for myself the last 3. I've built over 18,000 cell towers across the United States in the last 28 years.
Well, then I think,
One of them has come down, not one of
I
And
don't,
to answer your other question, these towers now have breakpoints in them, so they'll fall within the compound that's built for them. They don't fall like this, they collapse within the leased compound, but
okay, well, that's a little confusing to me because I don't understand. You're saying that you have 4 of them that are going to go up, but now you're saying you already put up like 18,000.
for Reliant.
I'm confused here, so I like to.
Okay, so I represent Reliant Towers at this meeting. So for Reliant Towers, we have 4 going up next year. And you're right about the county knows nothing about it because we can't prove due diligence. So the county would never know about it until we got all of our, we wouldn't even go to the county until we federally got the, so the county wouldn't know anything about it.
And whoever led us to believe that if we don't put it in our backyard, it's going in our backyard anyway, except we'll lose the money. That's what a lot of people are thinking right now. Well, that's a lot of money. Why should we let it go on the golf course? We never put it here if it's going in our yard anyway. I would like to let people know that if we say no to this, it probably will not wind up on the old golf course in our backyard. Also, on your behalf, I also checked. I did not know, and this is a good thing towards it, that Beacon Woods already has one. There is a lot of communities in here. We don't ride through communities looking for cell towers. Beacon Woods does have a cell tower, and their only complaint is the maintenance. They do have to call, like when the flag is shredded or the paint starts coming off. And that is a little bit of a problem that I would want to make sure we do get in writing that when it needs to be done, it needs to be done.
That's another reason those type of towers are being eliminated because of the shrouds always fall off. They're called unipoles. I'm familiar with the one at Beacon Woods on the 5A road. That one's got to come down also. So I'm only here because that tower's got to come down and these community needs to be serviced. So within a half mile of that pole that's over at the utility station, another tower's going to have to go up, whether it's here, might not be on the golf course, it might be on the other side of the street. But the carriers are pushing, they want the pole down and they need a new pole that allows them to provide their customers the service they need. That's why I'm here, because I have to find the carriers hired Reliant Towers to resolve that issue for them.
Thank you, Dale. Okay, thank you.
Standing up in the back. Sorry, I don't know your name. I know.
Elizabeth Holiday, live on Goldheim Drive, and this is literally in my backyard. So I have a lot of concerns. Microphone. Hi. My question to you is what you just said about the tower on Beacon Woods has to come down. Is it possible, and if not, why is it not possible to put another tower on that site instead of finding a different site within a half-a-mile radius, which is what you've been saying?
Most of it's due to funding. So that tower's been up for 30 years and the rents escalate annually, just like yours will. So they're probably paying $100,000 rent. They need to, well, that pole needs to come down because it's a unipole. The carriers can't get the technologies in you can only put one antenna per sector there. So they have to pick the technology that they want for their customers. So they can either give you an LTE antenna that will allow you to text, or they give you a PCS antenna that will allow you to do your phone calls. But whatever happens, one of your services is going to drop. So they do a study to see what the most usage is, and that's the antenna they stick in these unipoles. There's too many technologies to do that anymore, though.
A different tower on that same site.
Yes, it's possible.
And why wouldn't you pursue that?
Because Tico said I think that's Duke Energy, said no. I've spoken with probably 17 property owners within this half-mile radius. Timber Oaks being one of the ones that's interested. I'd rather give the money to the community than Duke Energy.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Walter Bodie. I'm in Linkside too. Steve, I want to commend you for attempting to enlarge the community on the build out for something that we will be looking at in the future and not very long, about all of the good things that this does provide us, such as emergency people, the EMTs, will be connected by this technology coming in, where they can provide service to that person who may be dying in that ambulance, and are connected directly to the hospital for a heart or brain surgeon or whatever, that he can provide them with the help to save that person's life. I just wanted to be one of the positive thinkers about what is coming into this world. I can remember when my mother warned us not to go swimming because of polio.
Thank you. Marie, did you want to speak?
Oh my, here we go again, gold pine. Of course, you know, I live directly behind the site that you were putting.
Speak in the mic, not
I live directly behind the site where you were proposing to put the tower. I live next to one of the gentlemen that came up, my neighbor. And I walked out there last night and walked around and looked at how close it is to our houses. We are directly, well, what, about 600 feet or maybe less? Yeah. We're on Gold Pine. I don't know if you've ever been out to the site. Have you been out there? I haven't seen you, and my windows face that area. That is a little too close. And you know, I don't know why you picked Timber Oaks to come in and put in this tower. And I'm disappointed in the board if they are looking at this and you are threatening with the county, which now know about this going on. So that wasn't something you should have done and scared the residents. And as far as the money goes, you heard Karen Fritsch. We've got plenty of money. You know, money doesn't matter. When last night I looked up, I was up quite late looking up the causes and what goes on when you put up a tower and what has happened in other cities around the country and the cancer that has come out in the community. I've got my house up for sale. I just signed the contract, so I don't know if this is going to hurt my sale or not. But what I'm concerned about are these residents. It's not fair to us. Come on, there are other areas. We've got fields all over Pasco County. Go put your tower out in one of those fields. Don't put it next to our house within, 60 feet? On both sides. I mean, Winding Wood is right up there too, but Gold Pine, we're right there. Please think about the people and the board. Think about the people. We got the money. I'm very disappointed in you all. Thank you.
Go ahead. LeMay would like to respond to that.
First off, the responsibility of this board is to look out for you, and that is why we have a town meeting, so we can understand how you feel about this tower going up. There is no irresponsibility on this board by looking at a proposal that is brought to us.
Don't sit there with your hands going down. That is very disrespectful. And I have not seen this board be disrespectful to anyone in this audience. We are up here to listen to you and find out what you want. That is what you elected us for.
Thank you, John?
So as I mentioned before, I did have a conversation with a representative from Jack Mariano's office, and I assured them that I would dispel the county's threat rumor that's going around. The board, the association, myself, there is no threat that it will be on the county property. It's a reality. Steve has told you more than once today that it will be within a half a mile of the existing tower on Little Road. If you do your own homework, and if you drive that half-mile radius, you'll find that there's limited available spaces for Steve to even approach a landowner for their potential lease. As Marie, as you just mentioned, why not find a field in Pasco County? We have plenty of those fields that tower could appear on within Timber Oaks. With the only difference being Timber Oaks doesn't get that monthly check. So it's not a threat, but it is a reality.
Okay, the young lady with her hand up in the back.
Good morning. My name is Susan Duda, and I just recently bought a property on and reside at 8130 Juarez Drive. When I've been looking for a house for 3 years, and I bought here, and my realtor made sure that there were no towers close. It was one of the specifications that I had, and he was looking out for my best interest. And for whatever reason, it doesn't really feel that the tower close to proximity of residency is a good thing. And I looked at many homes that had them close. And I bought here because there was no tower very close to me. And now you're gonna bring a tower in. I will tell you that a lot of people are not buying homes when they have a tower in the back. I saw many homes that were on the market for many, many months in this market. Houses are like that, disappearing off the market. And these houses that are in close proximity to these towers will not sell as quickly as a house that is not near a tower. So you need to consider that because if you put a tower in here, it will affect the real estate values. It has to. Because people do things on the internet, and it doesn't matter if it's truth or not. And you can't really say for sure that it's not affecting people's health. Otherwise, I mean, you didn't even mention anything about studies for the humans. You're only talking about birds and, wildlife and EPA and all these things. I didn't hear one thing about, health agencies or anything. So just something to consider that, it will affect things. And the money you receive, it sounds like, kind of like blood money to me, to give up people's welfare. If they need to sell their house in a hurry, they're not going to be able to, possibly. And why isn't there anything sent to every house in this neighborhood saying about this tower, that this meeting was gonna?
There was a postcard that was sent out to every resident. Every resident.
Okay,
And it said that we were discussing this?
Yes, that's what this meeting is specifically for.
Okay, all right. I got the postcard, but I didn't see the part about I guess I didn't remember that it said that. But anyway, I'm glad I came and, I just want you to consider that this, how much money are you gonna get a month for this tower, you guys? Yeah.
We're not gonna get any.
I know personally, but as for the board.
I think it was $12.50 a month plus to begin with, and then it will increase.
$1,250? I got a better idea. Let's buy one of the houses in here and rent it out to a human being. Okay, let's do that because there's lots of houses around that could be bought. And you get the rent from that.
We can't do that. But thank you for your input. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Jerry Beers.
Good morning, my name is Jerry Beers, I live over in Monterey. I just want to thank the board for giving the residents the opportunity to come in here and speak their mind so the board can listen to them. And I'd like to thank Steve for taking this time to come in. I think you guys are doing a great job, and I hope you guys make the right decision.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Sorry, I don't know your name.
Oh, I know. First time I'm here. Hi, good morning. Everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Susan Beasy, and I live at Rollingwood Drive. And my husband and I are probably, and I would guess, other than Steve, the only people that can actually speak about living near and on below a cell site. Okay, we just moved down from Hackensack, New Jersey last year. We lived in a mid-rise, and the mid-rise is 6 stories, a total of 52 apartments in this building. Three of us put up a cell site on the roof. For 10 years, we lived with this thing above us. Other than being a little on the chunky side and gray hair, that's the worst that happened to us with the cell site right above us. So dispel the rumors of the health. That's all I said.
Thank you. And Dale?
Good morning. Yep. Dale Morgan, 10602 Springwood Drive.
You need to speak into it more, Dale. It's not on.
Good morning, Dale Baldwin, 10602 Springwood Drive. I have also heard it, Steve, this morning, that you said that you're going to be purchasing this with natural gas.
Okay.
It'll be propane. Well, that kind of threw me off is we don't have any natural gas lines coming through this area right now.
So it's a propane tank, 500-gallon propane tank.
Okay. All right. But my opinion is I think it's a good idea because they need another tower. And a whole lot of people is going to disagree with me, but I think it's a good idea. Because it'll help our community out also. But I was worried that it would interfere with the antenna or our cell reception because there's a lot of times when you go through areas that other cell phone towers are there and you'll go through a dead zone. So I was concerned about that.
That usually happens because your carrier's not on the pole. So if you have T-Mobile, they probably don't have any antennas on the pole.
Yeah, we have nothing there. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Are there any other questions? Donna?
Okay, I had a couple of them. Okay, so this is gonna have a fence around it. We do have 2 family divisions in here that still have children. Our maintenance building's been broke into once. What's kind of danger is there if, in the event that these kids get back inside this fence again?
Everything's contained within cabinets, so there's no, I mean, we secure the facility with pretty big locks, so if the kids wanted to get in, they'd have to climb the fence, trespass. So we also stick signs up around everything. So if that happens, we'll take different measures to stick barbed wire on top of it. We'll do what we need to do.
And also, you say that there's 4 other companies that's, like, say that there's 4 other companies that'll get added to this tower, but you decide that you're not gonna be a part of this anymore and you wanna take your tower down. What's to stop these other companies from being able to put a tower in that place?
Well, we probably will never take the tower down, because what happens is these carriers build their network out. So in order for that tower to talk to the next tower, it has to talk to the next tower. So if you take out the middle piece, then there's no communication. So it breaks up the signals. So like I said, I've been rooftops as well. I used to live in Hackensack. I ran AT&T out of Hackensack, New Jersey. I worked at AT&T Paramus. So I've never taken the facility down in the 28 years I've been in business, or represented Verizon and AT&T on the executive level.
My last question is, like, say the people that do have the antennas and all that, and they don't want to be a part of this, is that going to be forced on them to have to accept this?
No. This is just you decide what carrier you want. I mean, you go to the T-Mobile store. No, nothing's forced on anybody.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions from that haven't spoken before? In a minute, Rick. You can go after this young lady.
Robert Eastman, you're working. Not working.
Dale?
There we go. Robin Eastman, Sable Palm. You said that you have to build a tower within a half-mile of the existing tower that's across the road. How many other locations or people have you presented this to besides Timberhole?
I'd have to grab my file, but I believe I've spoken to 17 different property owners. And some said no, and some said yes.
So you have other locations within that half-mile radius?
If this doesn't work out, I'll go pursue somebody else.
Thank you. Rick Agler.
Rick Agler, 10727 Footprint Lane. Obviously, the tower is very long term. I mean, we'll be there for 50, 80 years, right?
Yeah, it's a 50-year lease.
And since I didn't get to see the contract or anything, I presume that if it's adapted, that we do have ways to increase your rates. Because everybody knows, like 10 years ago, our house was worth maybe 125. Today it's worth 200,000. It's all inflation. I'm using the mic. Somebody turn it off.
It's on.
I'm not sure it was on. All right, but anyway, I heard it was like 12,000 a year. Sounds like it's more like about 14,000 a year. But just so you have an idea, in our budgets, we always say a $1 increase in our monthly fees results in $20,000 like that. So we're really only talking about offsetting 60, 80 cents, 60, 70, 80 cents a month is all that would benefit. And that's only if you only include the senior citizen, and you spread it out over the it's even less. The mic die again?
There is an annual escalation clause in the contract, so the rent increases annually.
All right, I'm sure I'll get to look at it.
How tall is that tower supposed to be?
150 feet with a 4-foot lightning rod. 150 feet with a 4-foot lightning rod.
All right. And what is the base? What is the base diameter? 20 feet, 5 feet? How big is the round base?
6 feet.
Maybe your battery.
Battery's dying.
All right. Battery comes and goes with this, so I'll try to be loud. I don't have that much. And I missed your answer. I apologize.
6 feet.
6 feet is the base.
Well, the base of the tower is 5 feet, but we pour a 6-foot foundation for it to sit in.
I went over last night. This is gone again. I went over last night and looked at the sites marked out next to our building there. And I noticed that the one side of it, the north side, I'll call it, it is very close to Gold Mine. I mean, the Marines, them do have a concern where it makes a world of difference. Because I don't know how long you got that marked out, what, about 150 feet or 200 feet wide. But if you go to I'll call it the south side or towards the Beverly side, Macy side of it, it makes a big difference in the impact on it. Because I think the whole item here comes down to aesthetics. If I don't pronounce that, excuse me, I'm a high school kid that never learned that word to count. But aesthetics, I mean, how does it look for our community? That's the big item. And I do appreciate this board, and you're right, for me and the rest of you, that you've had hearings, you've given notice, and you're doing it the right way. Good. But now a decision's got to be made, and the impact of that tower upon the aesthetics of this community is a big item. I think it boils down to that. I don't, dollar-wise, no, don't make your decision on dollar-wise. A dollar a month raise would offset that completely. But, you know, what does it look like? I ask the board to please consider it because of the impact on this community aesthetically. There definitely is on the negative side, but how bad is it compared to what we get back? Thank you.
Thank you, Rex.
Are there any more? John, you want to go first while he's fixing the mic?
Just to address one comment that Rick had. Rick, as far as changing the positioning of the site, yeah, I think that current site is 40 by 100, and it basically fits within the property that Timber Oaks owns over there. To go into another direction would leave our property.
Right, I understand. Does he need all of that, or, you know?
Yes. Yes, he does.
Which side would the tower be? Because I think it makes a big difference. Sorry, the board, I can't, it makes a big difference if that goes on the north end of that park, you know.
And we'll put it as far away from the houses as possible.
Thank you. Go ahead, Connie.
Connie Arneman, on Leaf Lane. What is your reason for wanting the tower in our community? Was it strictly for the money?
No, the reason that we were looking into this is because they asked us. They approached us to do this. We didn't go out looking for them, and we decided that we would put it out to the residents to see what their pleasure was, what their feelings were on it.
Yes, okay, thank you, I understand. So, we don't need the money.
Correct.
It's gonna be an eyesore to the residents on especially Gold Pine. Was my home there, I would be just so upset. The same with the residents on Benton Avenue, they're gonna see it directly. And on Elgin, they'll see it across the street. I think it's gonna be an eyesore and not a good thing for the community as far as, you know, and the way the community looks, which, you know, there's a lot of that going on around here all the time, the way the community looks, because of all the, you know, the driveways need this and that. And it just seems like Steve
could maybe buy his own piece of property down there on Little Road, and he wouldn't have to jump through any of these hoops. And he'd get to keep the money then. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Laura Hamilton and I live on Fallen Leaf. My concern, not only the health factors, is also with property value. And I've already spoken to a real estate broker, been in the business for many, many years, and they've stated that it does affect the value of your home. And the length of time that your property is up for sale. So it does take a lot longer sometimes to sell your property if you have a tower there, and also the value. And when we did our research, it was somewhere between 2 and 10% of a loss in property values. I don't know if selling a piece of property that has a tower, but it does affect the price of your home. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any more questions from the residents? Okay. Any more questions from the board? Go ahead, Lynette.
I know when I drive back through part of that development off of Gold Pine, we have a lot of electrical towers. How close are they to where this cell tower would be? John, do you know?
I don't know, I know what you're speaking of, but I couldn't give you a measure.
Because I know we have large electrical towers that run in a long line across the property back there. And they've been up there since before Timber Oaks sold properties. And I don't see it affecting any of the properties in that area or around it. One other thing I have to say is that until this proposal was brought to us, I never noticed these towers. Of course, they're not in my backyard, so I'm sure that makes a huge difference. But as far as the towers being within a half mile of where the one is in Beacon Woods, in certain areas, that would still be a mile from us. A half mile is not far. You know, that's my concern. As far as the money is concerned, I don't think we have a big deal on that. But as far as cell towers and our reception and someone else said about the first responders and them being able to get to where they need to go, and we all know they're in this community a lot. That's also something that I want to consider, as well as everything that was said today.
Okay. Okay. Are we ready to?
Are we allowed to speak again? No?
No, sorry. Okay, are we ready to do something on this as a board? We've listened to all of what you had to say, which was some very good points. I agree. But we have to either table this and research it much more, or we make a vote and decline it right away, or we accept it. Go ahead, Lynette.
I think this is an awful lot to think about. I would like to table it. When is our next board meeting? We have one coming
next Wednesday. Right, our next board meeting is next Wednesday. Yeah.
I would like to table it at least until Wednesday so that we have a chance to think about this.
Yes, John?
2 Wednesdays, right?
Oh, 2
Not next week, it's following.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
So we can have
stuff.
Would that be a problem?
I'll be in Arizona at the time. I wouldn't be able to be here.
Okay, no, I'm just
that's
saying,
okay.
if we postpone the decision that long, it's
Yeah,
not.
I want you, yeah, absolutely.
I second the motion.
Okay. So the motion on the table is to table it till our next meeting so that we can research it more.
I second.
Donna?
Well, I will not be here for that meeting. And at this point, I think I'm gonna have to decline it and say no.
Okay, all right. Okay, you want to do a roll, I know it's just a table, but should we do a roll call? Don't, okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will research this a little bit more. If anyone has, some new research, please give it to us before that meeting so that we will have everything we need to make a informed decision. Now, moving right along, we have the unfinished.
Can I say something?
Sure.
When the research comes back, I want the board to know the distinction between microwave and antennas.
Okay.
So if the information you're getting about microwave, that's television and radio. They operate at a huge 500,000 megahertz. We're nowhere near that. So just make sure that the information you're getting is about antennas and not microwave.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, we have unfinished business about the property insurance, but we did not get anything back from our insurance agent, so we will not talk about that. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, thank you for coming, Steve. And thank all the residents for coming. It's very, very. Okay. Motion, meeting is adjourned.